All right, guys, we're right here at the top of the hour. I do not want to waste their time because they're volunteering to come in here and teach us a little bit. I think if maybe you guys would intro yourselves, and I think this might be a little more question based, unless you guys know a good way to lead out these. This is foreign for me.
Um, we can answer any questions you guys have. My name is Doug Mack. I'm the residential supervisor for the Hernando County Property Appraiser's Office.
And I'm Amy Southall. I'm the supervisor of public service and exemptions.
And like I said, we're happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. We can also give you our contact information. So down the road, if you have other questions, you can give either one of us a call, and we'll happily, help you in any way we can.
This is awesome. I'll lead out. So we've had a ton of people that have bought over the last couple of years that are kind of freaking out. Like their taxes went up so dramatically and they didn't expect them to be that high that like now they're almost debating on selling and moving to a different area. And I don't know each situation, but I think maybe just starting from the bottom of either a brand new construction house or even, I mean, I think they're the same scenario really, a house that's been homesteaded with the prior owner for many years. What happens once that new person takes ownership?
So what happens when the new owner comes in is that assessed value gets reassessed at market value. So the biggest misunderstanding that the taxpayers have is that their taxes are going to look like that previous owner's taxes, but they're not. After any purchase, that assessed value gets reassessed to market value. So that previous owner may have had homestead for many years. They had a homestead cap, a Save Our Homes cap on that assessed value for maybe 10 years. That kept the amount of money they were taxed on much lower. Now you have your new buyer, that property gets reassessed at market value, and market values are very high right now. So now that new owner is getting taxed at that market value. And they don't understand. They thought that their taxes would be what the previous owner had. And that's just not the case, unfortunately. And it's really hard to predict what those taxes are going to be in the future. We have taxpayers right now that are applying for their homestead for 2024, and they're just, they're like, well, what are my taxes going to be like? We're not going to know that until mid-August of 2024. But I think it's best just for them to understand that those taxes are going to increase. And we do have a tax estimator on our website. They could certainly use that, plug in maybe the amount of money that they purchased the home for. And there's an option there to put the homestead on there and things like that. And that kind of will give them some idea of where they might be for taxes.
Is there a set percentage that's capped for homestead?
For the first year after you get your homestead, your assessed value will be at full market value. Once you have that homestead, the limit is 3% on your assessed value each year, with the exception of new construction or extreme remodels, things like that. Anything like that would come outside of the cap. But if there are no changes made to the property, that cap is 3% each year. And even for non-homesteaded properties, there's a 10% cap on the assessed value each year.
Can you talk a little bit more about extreme? Because we were talking a little bit about people, let's just say, adding an accessory dwelling unit in
Absolutely.
Hernando County.
Maybe the best way for me to say that is any new construction. So if you had a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,800 square foot home, and you added a 4th bedroom, another bathroom, say as an in-law suite or whatever, that would all come outside of the cap for that first year and be valued at 100% of market value. After that, it would fall back under your cap and be subject to that 3% increase.
So if I understand that correctly, like the value of the addition gets added to your assessed value, so that it kind of, like I said, if it's $100,000 valued addition, your assessed value will go up by $100,000 because that's the value of the addition, and then after that, it'll go back to 3%. It wouldn't get reassessed at full market value for the home.
Just the new portion would be reassessed at or assessed at full market value. Correct.
Yeah, just to know, because like a lot of people are asking about that, and even James and I were talking about that one too. One thing also that comes up, and I don't know if you guys are on the social media groups like Facebook and Brooksville Friends, and when the tax things came out, some people were saying that they were homesteaded and were getting higher than 10% increases. Now I don't know if that's true or not, or maybe they think they're homesteaded or not. Is there any scenario where somebody would get a tax bill greater than 10% if they weren't homesteaded? Because some people have been saying their taxes doubled.
And if they have had their homestead for many years and they haven't made any new construction, they don't have a new roof, no new construction to the home, that assessed value should not increase any more than a maximum of 3% per year for that assessed value. Sometimes people will merge, say, a vacant lot to their home lot, their homesteaded lot, and that can incur an increase in assessed value for that one particular key number if they're now merged into one key number. Trying to think if there's any other scenarios I've come across. Just, improvements. And if they've merged lots together, that can increase it for that one parcel number. But normally that assessed value should not increase any more than a maximum of 3% a year. So if you have someone that particularly is seeing a problem, if they could please call our office so we could, just verify everything for them. We welcome that, absolutely. Any questions, that taxpayers have, you can certainly give them our contact information.
Another one that comes up is adding a name to the deed. Would that trigger a reassessment?
Well, if they just add, say, a mom and dad add a son to the deed, that's called usually a quit claim deed. That does not usually trigger a reassessment, but it can affect their homestead exemption. So it's very important that they seek legal advice in making sure that the deed is written appropriately, not to affect their homestead exemption, because sometimes their homestead can be cut in half if other people are added to the deed. If they don't have that joint tenants with rights of survivorship, that can certainly affect their homestead exemption.
Since we're on this subject, I'm a little unfamiliar with portability. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Portability, absolutely. So portability is available to the taxpayer if they have had a homestead exemption in another county in the state of Florida within 3 years of the time that they purchased their new home. So in other words, you've got a buyer, and let's say they moved from Miami and they had homestead there for many years. So what we do is we take the difference of the market value and assessed value of their previous residence, of their last year of homestead there. We're able to port that over and reduce their assessed value by that amount. So they wouldn't necessarily start over at market value. They would have that reduction from that portability. It's it's a great advantage of having the homestead for people that, might be moving within the state of Florida.
There is a cap on the portability as well. We don't often run into it, but the portability has a maximum amount of $500,000 that can be ported. Like I said, we don't see a lot of that, but it is out there.
I mean, I've run into a few people that didn't know about portability. So let's just say they don't do it in their first year because they just didn't know that that was an option. Could they retro their portability, or do they have a limit in which they can then transfer it over if they, let's just say, never even knew that portability exists when they moved?
Right, certainly. So if they found out and they didn't know at the time of application, they could certainly reach out to us. And like I said, they would have had to have had the homestead within the past 3 years, but yes, we can certainly work with them and see if we can get back that portability that they were eligible for. And when we take our applications here in the office and even online, we always ask about their previous address and if they had homestead exemption. So we try our hardest to to make the customers aware of that. But certainly any help in educating your customers is helpful to us.
Or whatever you want to wear. And a hoodie.
I've got a question going back over to the assessed value. So let's say that one of these homeowners reached out to me and they asked me like, hey man, like why these taxes go up? And I go in and look and I'm like, there's no way that property should be assessed at that number. What can they do to like challenge their assessed value?
Each August, our office sends out the notice of proposed property taxes. We refer to it as a trim notice. Basically, what that form tells them is what value has been placed on their property for the year. It will show them the market value, the assessed value, any exemptions that they're getting, and a taxable value. It also shows them what millage rates the taxing authorities have levied and what their potential property taxes are going to be for the year when the tax bills are mailed out in November. On the bottom of that form, there's going to be a date printed from the day that form mails, from the day we put it in the mailbox. They have 25 days that they can appeal that value and file a petition with the Value Adjustment Board, which is the clerk of court's office, to have an informal hearing with a special magistrate. That we're actually in that season right now. We're having hearings now, and what happens in those hearings is our office would present our information or evidence, if you will, supporting our value, and then the property owner would then provide evidence supporting why they feel our value is incorrect. That special magistrate, who is a third party, unaffiliated with Hernando County at all, he would take all of that evidence and make a decision over a period of a couple of weeks. And whatever his decision is, basically, it can be appealed, but that's kind of the final word. So if he decides that they're correct and my value is too high, then he would reduce my value. If he decides I have supported my value, basically with sales, then he would say that the petition has been denied. And again, those decisions can be appealed, but typically they're final. Once that process has concluded, the only other option the property owners have is they can take us to civil court.
Is that process based on market? So let's just say this year their assessed value is high, and next year the market has a correction. Can they then do that reassessment process every year based on, let's just say, a comparative analysis of what's actually been selling? So maybe they lost this year, but next year sales in the neighborhood or the community have changed and have gone down.
Absolutely. You can appeal every year. You can file a petition every year. Couple things I do want to clear up so you guys understand. We reassess every single year. We have an assessment date each year of January 1st. That's our effective date. Now, we don't have values as of January 1st because we use sales from the previous calendar year to determine our values. I personally and my staff will go through and we will qualify all of the sales so that we're kicking out any bankruptcies, foreclosures, family member to family member, anything that's not an arm's length transaction gets automatically disqualified. Of the remaining sales that are deemed arm's length, we run analysis on those to determine our rates. And we do that every year to set our values as of January 1st. And I've done it, and I've heard a couple of you mention it. We keep referring to assessed value. Assessed value is actually a statutory number that we have no control over. What we deal with is actually the market value, or you might hear us call it the just value. That's what we come up with. And then the assessed value on top of that, like I said, that's statutory. We have zero control over assessed value.
The assessed value includes the caps. The assessed value will include the Save Our Homes cap and the non-homestead cap, 10% cap as well.
That is a good thing to know. I didn't know that.
So like Amy was saying earlier, if and I'll just use the two of us as an example. If Amy owns her home and has homestead for 10 years and her market value is $400,000, but her assessed value is $200,000. If she puts it on the market and I buy it, and let's say I pay $500,000 for it, as long as that's a good arm's length transaction, that sale would be considered along with all of the other sales when we determine that value. So after that whole process is said and done, so let's say our value comes back in at $575,000 because of all the other sales that are included as well. For that first year of my ownership, my market value is going to be that $575,000, and so is my assessed value, unless I have portability that lowers it. So that, I think earlier today in this meeting, we had a question, why did my taxes go up so much over the previous owner? That's exactly why. Because for that first year, that assessed value has to be reset and come up to full market value.
Now, for those who are investors, their cap is 10%, and that's there's no situation where that 10% cap doesn't apply for an investor or something. Maybe not a traditional. Let's just say somebody who maybe has an additional property, like maybe they're not even an investor,
Correct.
But they have two.
If it's not homesteaded, so investors or even commercial property, it is limited to a 10% cap as long as there's no major changes or new construction to the property.
Real quick on that, and this is just to make sure that I understand.
Sure.
So if it's a 3% cap, and let's say the previous tax are $1,000, that means it can't be any more than $1,030, right?
No. The cap only applies to the assessed value. Taxes are totally different. We have zero control over taxes. That's the taxing authorities. Your assessed value can only increase the 3% if you have homestead. Taxes.
Your house is valued at 100,000. The next year, the cap is 103.
It can't be over 103.
Right.
Correct.
Because millage rates change every year. There's just too many variables each year to put that
Right.
cap on the amount of taxes. It's the cap on the assessed value. And then the taxes are calculated from that.
So when Audrey was talking about the change in a major change in somebody's taxes, it could have been the millage rate change, not the assessed value.
It's absolutely possible,
Yeah.
yes.
Interesting. I
So
didn't
we
know that.
just set the values and then it gets calculated with the millage rates.
And how often do the millage rates change? Or can
Every year. Now, there have been years where they've opted to keep the same rate as the previous year, but they do have meetings and the potential to change every year.
And the meetings are listed on our trim notice that we mail out each August. There are notifications there with dates and times of the meetings where the Board of County Commissioners are discussing those millage rates. We had quite a few, well, we had a couple of dates in September, this past September, regarding those millage rates. And that's all on that trim notice, that notice of proposed property taxes. And a lot of people unfortunately don't pay attention to that because it says do not pay, this is not a bill, but they really need to take a good look at it. That's something else that would be so helpful, for educating your home buyers, is to really be on the lookout for that notice of proposed property tax that we send out every mid-August, and not to ignore it because there's a lot of really important information on there about what their property taxes are going to look like.
Now, in terms of like voting, because is it the Board of County Commissioners that determines the millage? Is it the state legislature? Like who is the people? Because we get asked this, I get asked this a lot too.
We have several different taxing authorities. They're the ones that are allowed to apply a millage to your property taxes. You have the county, which is the Board of County Commissioners. You have the public and state school boards. They can also apply. You have the municipality, if your property happens to be in the city of Brooksville. The city of Brooksville is a taxing authority. You have Swift Mud Water Management. And I think those are all of the ad valorem taxing authorities. But then you'll also have those non-ad valorums that will put a flat tax that is not associated to value. And you have the solid waste, you have the fire department, and you could have, in certain subdivisions, you could have street lighting, you could have lime rock road paving or millings. There could be several different non-ad valorums.
Also, community development.
CDDs, yes.
CDDs can also show up on their property tax bill as non-ad valorem assessments.
I'll tell you one thing that I heard inside of here is I almost want to start attending like any budget meetings that I can for the county, because I imagine that at the county level, the amount that they're bringing in has to have increased 40 or 50% over the past few years with these increased home values.
Absolutely, and we encourage everyone to go to those meetings. If you can't physically go there, you can watch them. They stream them on their website, and on our trim notice that Amy was referring to a few minutes ago, we list when those meetings are going to be. And if you can't be there, we also list telephone numbers that you can reach out to them and voice your opinion.
Okay.
We give, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that's really important for all of us, and also just to be able to educate our consumers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, my next, I wrote down a question earlier. I was going back through my notes that I took here. So, and if there's nothing, that's kind of why I'm asking this. But if a homeowner calls me and like, James, I don't know what to do here. Like, I can't. It's not the right time for me to sell this home and buy another home. But like, I can't afford my payment, or I can't pay my tax bill. Is there like anything they can do for lack of affordability or hardship or anything like that?
I know that the tax collector's office, they do offer a payment plan where I think they spread the payments out over each quarter. Now that's something that they have to contact the tax collector's office for, and they have to apply for that and be approved for that to be able to have that benefit. Other than that, I'm not aware of anything else.
A little bit further into that, there are many exemptions that people can qualify for, and Amy can absolutely tell you all of them. I cannot. But in addition to your homestead exemption, we have disability exemptions, we have military exemptions, we have low income exemptions. And again, Amy can go a lot deeper into that subject than I can. But you can let your buyers know that there is more than just that homestead that they may be able to qualify for.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have disability exemptions for veterans and non-veterans. We also have the low income senior exemption. That's for our taxpayers that are 65 years old and older. Now that is based on adjusted gross income for the whole household. So that is income based. And then again, portability, it's always something to make sure, if they have portability, that helps. Yeah, so it's mostly disability exemptions, low income senior exemptions, things like that.
Widow, is there a widow
Widow,
exemption?
there is a widow and a widower. Those are smaller exemptions. They save about $70 or so on the tax bill.
There's one, I don't know if this flies or not, but if you're a spouse of a military, like killed in active combat, is that one too?
Right, active duty, correct.
Okay.
Surviving spouse of active duty military. And first responder as well. Surviving spouse of first responder killed in the line of duty.
I mean, I don't know if it's possible for you guys to even know this, but do you know how many, like, what percentage of the county is not taking advantage of these exemptions at the fullest capacity? Is it like a overwhelming amount of people just don't have the information and they should be qualifying for more things? Like, do you guys know that in terms of like effectiveness of everybody maximizing their tax breaks?
I would have no way of knowing that number.
Yeah.
It's way too variable.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't even know where to begin to look.
Just curious because it just like there's so many things I'm picking up on now,
Yes.
and
Right, absolutely.
and I just wonder how many people even know this.
And when they come into our office and they filled out their homestead application, we go over all the other exemptions that we offer. And we also attach another form to there, just again going over all the other benefits that we do offer. I believe sometimes with the tax bill, it seems like there's also information in there about the low income senior. I know there's added notes sometimes for people to kind of give them a heads up that there are other benefits available. I don't think so much on our trim notice. That's mostly just that, but the more we can educate, the better. In for someone in real estate, that would be like the best person to speak to our taxpayers, because you're right there, in helping that new home buyer and kind of giving them all the information that they need. So it's the more we can educate the real estate, yes, anybody.
I love it. Doug, Amy, I really appreciate you guys just spending some time with us, like out of your day and coming in here to talk with us. I mean, guys, is there anybody else? I don't want to cut y'all off if you have another question, but I also want to be respectful of their time.
I also wanted to add into, I'm assuming you guys are in with the Hernando County Board of Realtors.
Yep.
The HCAR. Once a
Um,
month,
yeah.
we go there and do a presentation. I think it's typically for new realtors, but I don't know if you had further questions. Our chief deputy, Kevin Johnston, or myself will be there and we'll give a presentation. We have a slideshow that we go through, and we're also available for any questions at that point as well.
That's awesome.
But if you'd like, I'll go ahead and give you our office phone number, and then Amy and I'll give you our extensions and our email addresses, and please feel free to reach out at any time. Our office number, of course, it's area code 352-754-4190. And my extension is 25006. Now, a lot of times I'm in hearings or meetings, but if you call and leave a message, I promise I will get back to you very soon.
And my extension is 25033.
And my email address, if you need to get in touch with me that way, is Doug, DOUG, .mack, MACK, at hernandocounty.us.
And my email is A is in Apple, S is in Sam, OUTHALL at hernandocounty.us. So that's A Southall.
That's awesome. This is super informative. I mean, this was a lot of good information. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming in.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Glad to do it.
Yes.
Anytime you guys need anything like that, James, I think you reached out to Louise in our office.
Yep.
She is fantastic to get us to be able to put things together like this. So if you ever need to do this again or want to get more information, reach out to either of us or Louise and we'll make it happen.
Awesome.
And
Thank you so much.
our
Oh, go ahead.
website also is a great resource. There's lots of good information on our website as well.
Love it. Love it. Awesome, you guys. Thank you. And thank you guys for all showing up to hear this as well. I mean, I think this is really important as we go back to our customers.
All right, guys, if there's no other questions, then we will leave your meeting, let you get back to business.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All right,
Thank
take care.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.